Now, it's interesting. Before macrobiotics, I observed what I'm about to tell you, but I didn't connect the dots. What I observed was that when the cows were out, because I was mainly cow resource, beef cattle and dairy cattle, when they were out to pasture and eating what they're supposed to eat, you didn't see any. You didn't see any sick animals. You didn't see them. Not at all. I mean, you saw the occasional difficult birth or like a barbed wire wound or something, but you never, you had the workload just plummeted. Many days you didn't even have any work, unless you had government programs, brucellosis testing and tuberculosis testing. And I saw that and I noticed it, but I didn't make the connection until I started doing macrobiotics in 1975. I got my next job in Wales, and I started to, I went through some really dramatic changes, amazing dramatic changes, personally. So I said, there's got to be a lot to this stuff. This can't be just, I change my diet, all this stuff happens that's just totally miraculous. Literally miraculous, from my standpoint. So I started to study, and I put aside about an hour a day, studying yin and yang, reading Wasawa, getting whatever books were available at that time, which were not that many. I had to search high and low and go many, many miles to get these books. Like I had to go away to London. But then, and of course I changed dramatically. Then the final summer, I guess this was 78, I noticed it again, and I said, now I know why. So I said, what's the point of doing this, all you are as a doctor, whether you're a veterinary doctor or a medical doctor, you're just a mechanic, basically. You're just going around giving drugs, doing diagnosis, giving drugs, and hoping for the best, essentially. There was a saying in the veterinary milieu where, because I worked as a veterinary surgeon for close to 7 years, and there was a saying in the veterinary field in England at that time that of every 100 cows you see, 30 of them are going to die anyway, 30 of them are going to live anyway, and the others are either going to live or die, and you can be damn sure that whatever you do had nothing to do with the outcome.
Wow.
That's
That
not
sounds like a classic.
so that's not a very satisfactory sort of foundation on which to base your life. I don't think. So I said, I'm gone to have a meal. So I said, fine, we'll come and have a meal. So we showed up, and they lived on their parents' farm, and they had a cottage behind the house, little, farmhouse cottage. And we went in there, and what did we see? Miso soup, brown rice, vegetables, seaweed, beans. I said, what's this? He said, this is macrobiotic. I said, what's that? He said, I'm not going to tell you.
You did.
So I said, okay, well, do you have any literature I can read about it, right? Yeah, he said, as a matter of fact, I get this thing called the East-West Journal. And after I finished reading it, I'll let you borrow it. And it came out monthly, it came out of Boston. The East-West Journal in those days was one heck of a rag. It was really something special.
I'd love to get a hold of some.
Awesome, really awesome. Because it was so eclectic, It didn't just focus on food and yin and yang and all that stuff. But it just, they had articles on Celtic Christianity and Sufism and all kinds of different things. It was really very interesting. And anyway, so I started reading that. We'd go and have a meal with them once a month. They'd come and have a meal with us once a month. We just swapped. So every month we were having this macrobiotic meal with them. And when they came to us, we just tried to accommodate them the best we could. Because he said to me, core food has got everything to do with health and well-being. I said, bullshit. I said that.
You were still in science.
Yeah, I was in that whole science stuff. It had nothing to do with it. It's bullshit. No way. So,
You're a good student, you.
So anyway, I had had a spiritual experience. This was literally, see, because of my intellectual upbringing, scientific training, all that stuff, I wasn't intellectually prepared to accept the fact that this food was tremendously important and significant as a role player in the development of illness and so forth, and well-being. So I was reading this article. This is I still have this copy of the October issue of the East-West Journal in 1975. And there's an article in there by Michio on the evolution of human consciousness. And it's actually very, very Darwinian. You know, I'm not a big fan of Darwin. Never have been. Because there's two major gaps in the whole Darwinian theory, which are unexplained in the Darwinian theory, which is natural selection and what the hell is that? And random mutation. What the hell is that? And there was no cogent explanation or description of what those two things are. So the whole theory just didn't hold water for me. But Michio took this thing and I didn't understand it. Okay, so I didn't. Well, and I was smoking dope. I was a dope user, right? Many years. Real, a serious dope user. Cannabis resin. Loved it. And I've been using that and I've taken lots of, hallucinogens and psilocybin and LSD and mushrooms and all this stuff. I was into that stuff big time. And not for hedonistic purposes. That wasn't the purpose. It was more for, like, what the hell is going on here,
Introspection.
Yeah, and trying to figure out what is the meaning of all this. What is the reality? I mean, the people when we were using drugs, they were not used for any other reason. The people that I was gravitating around, we were all basically what you might call seekers. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I was doped. I used to smoke it every day. All the way through college, I got my degree. I actually did operations stone out of my nose.
Oh, Cora. Oh,
yeah, I did
boy.
cesarean, definitely. And did it very well.
You probably were more relaxed.
Well, people have this totally, I guess it depends on the person who's using the drug, but it never made me anything other than having much more clarity about stuff, more relaxed. And everything slows down, which is very helpful if you
More
do
single
operations.
focus. More single focus too, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So I've done cesareans when I've been, not deliberately. I mean, what happened is that I have the night off and I'm smoking dope, and then I get a call. We really need you to come out and see this car, even though it's my night off. Okay, I go and get it. Go and deal with it. So I have to deal, and then I end up having to do a cesarean, so I do cesarean. Anyway, so this morning, I don't have anything to do that day. After breakfast, it was winter. Yeah, it was October, so it was pretty cold. This is way up in the north. County Donegal is way up in the northwest. And I light up and I read this thing and I don't understand it. I said, well, I better read it again. I read it again and I still didn't understand, but when I looked up, the whole room was bathed in this golden light. So I thought, okay, fine. And that's literally how I started doing my first. That was on a Wednesday. The next day I drove down, because I knew of a health food store in Dublin where you could buy all this stuff.
Were you stoned when you had that experience?
Yeah, it's out of my mind. Of course somebody said, well,
Were you on grass or LSD?
it was cannabis resin. We couldn't get grass.
Okay.
It was bricks, right.
A cash.
And anyway, so somebody said to me, well, you saw the golden light because you were stoned. And I said, no, because I've been stoned many, many times, but I've never seen that. This was something different. So anyway, I went down there next day, traveled all the way down, got the brown rice, the miso, the seaweed, the beans, all that stuff, right? Brought it back, went into my pantry, got a big sack, because in those days there were no food banks. We didn't have the starvation in the developed world then that we do now.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have it in the developed world now, starvation, you know that.
Yes.
So I filled up this sack, this plastic bag, you know, thing like this. Milk, sugar, beef, eggs, all that stuff, all that gone. I just put it on, I took it down to the dump. And that's how I got started, cold turkey. And within 10 days, everything had just totally turned around. I mean, literally. I mean, that was 200 pounds.
Get out of here.
Wow.
200.
200 pounds. And now I went down to 125 and I'm still 125 35 years later. So, anyway, so it was a really remarkable transformation for me. And so, then I went to study the KI, and then I started teaching and counseling. And the most important teachers that I've had have been the people I've counseled. By far. They told me everything. Of course, I got a tremendous amount of information from Steiner and Kushi and Jasawa. Okay, this is all happening spiritually. But we have a spiritual, physical body. See, today, and this is really important to impress upon yourselves, that when we look at each other, we only see what is known as the physical mineral body, okay, which is not the true physical body. That's important. We have to make a distinction between their spiritual physical body, which is purely spiritual, and then we have the etheric body, the astral body, and the ego. And the physical body that we see with our physical eyes, that's known as the physical mineral body. And in the beautiful phrase of Steiner, this is a gesture by the mineral kingdom that we're in the presence of another human being when we look at each other. Okay? We don't actually see the person themselves, spiritually speaking. This is really important to grasp because this is a healing thought. That thought itself is a healing thought. And of course that's also true of plants. Essentially, when we look at the world around us, we're only seeing the physical mineral aspect of whatever it is we're looking at, whether it's a plant or an animal or a human being. We're not seeing the actual spiritual being itself. And of course the difference between a plant and the mineral kingdom, see, the mineral kingdom is only composed of of the mineral itself. It's in this realm that is a dead kingdom. It's known as the kingdom of death. Because obviously everybody can recognize that when you look at a rock, it's not alive. I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? However, it is the physical body of a spiritual being, but that spiritual being doesn't exist in this realm. And then the difference between the rock and the plant is the plant has a physical body as well as an etheric body. That is what it means. Being a plant means I am consisting of a physical body and an etheric body. And what you see of the plant, where are your plants? Okay. Without there, you're seeing the physical mineral aspect of the spiritual being that we call a plant. Whether it's a rose or an oak tree or a rice plant. Now the difference between a plant and an animal is the animal has a physical body, etheric body, and an astral body. But the astral body is a group soul. So you have the group soul of the elephant, the group soul of the lion, the group soul of the cat. They have a group soul. And the difference between a human being and an animal is that we have an individual soul because we have an ego. We have an individuality. And this, ideally, the difference between an animal's behavior and the human behavior is that if you understand the behavioral traits of any one individual of a species of animals, you understand the behavior of all of the same individuals belonging to that species, which should not be true if we're talking about humanity, because we're all individuals. The fact that we have herd mentality in human beings, which we do have, only means that those people have not developed beyond the level of the animal, essentially, or they've regressed to the level of the animal.